probably about 16 years ago. So I'm not going to say how old he was or how old I was at that time. But it was about 16 years ago. He had been coming to the church that I'm a pastor of for a few weeks, and I invited him out to lunch, asked him where he wanted to go. He wanted to go to Subway in Clifton, and that was his favorite go-to place at that time. So I met him there in the Subway. We had lunch, and then he drove me back to where I had to go to. He had a BMW SUV at the time, I think. He was, I had never seen anybody like him before. He was able to drive, talk on his phone, talk to me, and look around at prospective real estate opportunities. All at the same time, he was able to do that. So he's a multitasking person. And over the years, I've seen him make a strong commitment to serve God, which is a great step that he took in his life many years ago. I had the privilege of performing his wedding to Jennifer. It was a very wonderful wedding. It was on, I think, Thursday afternoon. There was myself, my wife, one other person present, and we got married, and then we went out for lunch, and that was the wedding. And then they had a destination wedding somewhere else. The official wedding happened on a Thursday afternoon. And I've seen Domingo become a dedicated, faithful spouse, a really good husband with his wife. I've seen the birth of his two children, Zabin and Zayla. And even more than that, I've seen what a good father Domingo is to his children. Really a good father. And I see how he has that balance. He puts God first, his family, and then his business after that. I've also seen him move up financially as he's blessed other people and bought a house in somewhere outside of Passaic. I don't even know the names of the towns outside of Passaic, but he moved up. But he never forgot his roots. Financially, he got stronger and healthier. So God has blessed him, and I know God has blessed him because he uses the blessings he receives to bless other people. I'm always seeing on Facebook how he's helping somebody, doing this with that, helping this person. He's a great financial blessing to the church and to the cultural center. So he's blessed, and God continues to bless him. I've seen his career just grow from, I think when I met him, he was at Garden State Realty somewhere, and now he's one of the, I could honestly say, one of the top real estate brokers in our region. He's made it all the way up there. I consider him a friend, a go-to person when I need to talk about an idea or get some perspective on a problem or a situation. We'll go and have lunch. And despite all that he has accomplished in his life, I still see unlimited potential in him. And knowing Domingo, he is a person who's set on having all that God has for him in this life. And it's my privilege to introduce to you today, because he's not here because of himself. He's here because of his parents. He's a child of immigrants. So it's my privilege to introduce to you today the son of Gilma Lambis Rodriguez. Making me cry. And Domingo Dominguez. Let's welcome Domingo.
You're going to be my college student. 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 That was my mother. I heard that growing up so many times that it got into my nervous system. And as I got older, it was just sitting in there. And I'm going to take you guys through a real story in my life that kind of embodies all those times she said that and how that little thing led to this thing, which led to everything. I want to explain a true story to you guys. So, right now, I'm a senior in high school, and I'm at my locker, and my locker neighbor was a good friend of mine, and he comes over to me that day. I remember like it was yesterday, and this was in 1990, my senior year in high school. And he says to me, "What are you gonna do after college? I mean, after high school?" So instinctively, since my mother had told me so much that I was gonna be a college student, I just said, "Oh, I'm gonna be a college student. I'm gonna go to college." So that was just instinctively just came out of my nervous system because she had said it to me so many times. So he says to me, so in that conversation, he says to me, "Oh, you know what? By the way, I have a great idea to cut class today." And you know, when you're in your senior year, you have senioritis. You don't want to be in school anymore. You want to find any reasons, and I'll be there. So he says to me, I got a brilliant plan to cut class. So I was like, "What is it?" So he's like, "Today, the counselor for William Patterson is coming to the school. So what we'll do is we'll go there, we'll get a pass to go there, and then we'll just cut all day and say we were with the counselor." So I was like, "Oh, that's a brilliant idea. That's definitely gonna work." So I go up to my home. We separate. We close our lockers. We go to our homeroom. We're in homeroom, and through the intercom you hear, "Students, today there'll be a counselor from William Patterson in school. If you want to meet with him to apply for the school, come down to the guidance counselor's office. If you want to meet the counselor from William Patterson." So to me, that was my cue. I was like, "Yes, I'm going there." So I'm in my homeroom. Sure enough, homeroom is over. The bell rings. We go downstairs. I meet my friend right in front of the door. We see each other like, "Yes, go in here. We're gonna get this pass." We walk in, and to our surprise, we're the only two people that showed up. So we're looking at each other like, now what are we gonna do? Because we can't even sneak or whatever. So we're like, so I said to him, I said, "You know what? That's how slick I was. I was like, you know what? Nobody will know that we're the only ones that showed up. We'll still go out and cut, and it's no problem." So he goes, "All right, great." So we go in the room. So the lady sits down with us. It's me, her, and me, him, and her. So she gives us an application. Me and him fill it out, right? So we start filling everything out. We're asking her questions and stuff. We fill out the whole application, and then so we were looking at each other like, "Hurry up, let's finish. We can get out of here. We want our time." So we hurry up. We sign up the application, and we give it to her. We're like, "Okay, thank you. Where's our pass?" She's like, "No, hold on, guys, hold on." She goes, "I'm going to tell you guys right here if you're accepted." They told me like, "Ray, y'all tell us right here?" She was like, "Yeah." So she goes, "So sit down." So we sit down. I remember like it was yesterday. She goes, "Who's Domingo and who's Robert?" "I'm Domingo. He's Robert." She points at me. She goes, "You're in, you're out." and I looked at him. I got more offended than him. I was like, "What do you mean he's out? Why is he out?" So when you're young like that, you want to do things in a group. So I'm thinking the whole time, me and him are going to go to college together. So she's like, so I'm asking her, I said, "Why is he out? Why am I in?" So she says to me so eloquently, she goes, "Well, the qualifications for this program is the EOF program. The qualifications are your parents can't make a lot of money, aka they're gonna be dirt poor, and B, you can't have good grades. Your grades have to be average." So he had good grades, and his mother owned a house. I, on the other hand, was dirt poor, and my grades were average because at that time I didn't have anybody like guiding me, so I just did just enough to pass. I never did anything extra. I didn't feel like I needed to. So she says to us, "Okay," so she goes, "You're in, whatever." So I'm like. So now at the beginning I'm upset, but then at that time I'm like, wow, I'm in college. My dream my mother wanted me. I'm in college. So we stop right there. I give her the stuff. Now we take the pass. Obviously we cut, and we cut around. We go around. We went like the third period. We go in. Long story short, that ends, right? So now months pass, right? And I'm thinking I'm in college. I'm in. That's it. I'm nothing else I need to do. One day I'm walking home. And where I lived, we had a school ground. It was a school, and it had a playground, and then my house across the street. I never forget like it was yesterday. I'm walking home from school to the playground, and my niece who's in the audience screams out of the window, Junior, hurry up and come upstairs. The counselor from college, from William Patterson, said, if you don't come on the phone right now and go take a test, you're not even gonna get in. And I heard up and I ran upstairs and I got on the phone and I'm like, hello? And he's like, yeah, Domingo. You're like, what are you doing? Because you're here, but you haven't come to take your placement test. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't even know. He's like, so come this Saturday, take your placement test. You're the last one. I'm writing you in, he says to me on the phone. So I said, okay, cool, I'll be there Saturday. Fast forward, I go there Saturday. I go and I sit down and I take the placement test. So we take the test. After the placement test, they go, when you're finished, take your test and go into this other building and go over there and give them the stuff. So I finished my test. I was like one of the last ones. I always was last at these tests. So I go over into the line, and the line is like from here to past the door. I'm like, what the heck? Is like a free cheese line or something? That's the only lines I've seen that was that big. So I'm sitting in the back of the line waiting. Finally, I get to the guy, and I finally get in there. When you're young, you're like impatient. I finally get to the guy, and I go in there. He goes, okay, what's your name? I'm like, Domingo Rodriguez. He goes, Domingo Rodriguez. He's looking at the list. He looks it over. He goes, your name's not on here. And I'm like, he goes, you're not on this list. And me being the person I was, you couldn't just tell me this. I was like, what do you mean I'm not on there? I was like, you told me on the phone I was on there. You told me you were writing me in. And he looks at me and goes, oh, really? He goes, okay, you're the last one. He writes me in. That's how I got to college. So I wanted to share that with you, right? Immigrant parents dream that their children find a place in their new home, and they willingly suffer hardships for that service. Let me repeat that again. Immigrant parents dream that their children will find a new home in their place, a new place in their home, and they willingly suffer hardships for that service. I see, and that's a quote by Jean L. Yang. I see sacrifice all over that quote. Can I get a yes? Yes. Okay. Now, good morning. That was my introduction. I welcome all you wonderful people that took your time in your busy lives to come here today for a good cause. Let me start by introducing myself to you. My name is Domingo Rodriguez, again, for the 50th time. I am your keynote speaker this morning, honored and proud to be up here to do that. I am a devoted family man, as Pastor Willie so eloquently stated. I'm a God-loving husband, a father of two, Zaven, who's 9 years old in the building, and Zayla, who's going to be 4 next week and not here, unfortunately. I'm a member of Crossroads Church for over 10 years, a board member for 5, not currently serving. I've been a real estate broker for 18 years now. I'm a proud new author. I just co-authored the book this year. I'm a community servant and football coach. And I'm also a professional motivational speaker. That's by faith, not by sight. So that, I'm going to be a professional motivational speaker, but I'm saying it now so it's out of the way. And I will become that, amongst a lot of other things. Today, our theme is celebrating children of immigrants. I am a proud child of 2 immigrant parents. My father, Domingo Dominguez, a Dominican man, and my mother, Gilma Lambis, a Colombian woman. Today, I will go into more detail about my mother because she was the one who raised me. My father and my mother separated early on, and I was raised by a single-parent home. So the majority of my memories and stories are with her, and she made me the man I am today. So as I explain my mother to you, my mother grew up in Colombia, South America, a daughter of my grandfather and my grandmother. My grandmother was a teacher, and my grandfather was an entrepreneur businessman. That's probably where I get it from. And he, what I'm told, owned businesses and real estate, and all this other stuff. So they together made my mother. They separated. My mother was a sick young woman. She suffered from asthma, and in Colombia, I'm sure they were very poor. From what I'm told, they were raised on dirt floors, and they didn't have anything. So they were actually forced to go out and work at 8, 10 years old. And my mother couldn't work at that age because my mother was sick. She had asthma. So my grandmother was pretty much taking care of her, from what I'm told, and her 2 siblings were already going out to work early on. She's the oldest of 3 sisters and the leader of the 3. So they always followed in her footsteps on what she did. And my mother was very, very visionary. She was very entrepreneurial. She was very, she always, she had plans and goals, and she was, she went after it. So part of her thing, what I'm told, was I thought was very interesting. She figured out of all the jobs in Colombia, that she wanted to work at the big hotels in Cartagena, where we were from, as cleaning the rooms, right? So her and my aunt cleaned rooms in these big hotels. And while they were there, she got a chance to, see the television sets, and she got a chance to meet people that was coming in. And at that time, people that came into those hotels, they were affluent, they had money, they were people of power and stuff. So she would network with them and talk with them. And I'm told that while they were there working, they would have the television on when they were cleaning, and they would often see images of New York City and the land of opportunity and everything that New York, and the history with New York and everything that it brought. And my mother would often tell my aunt, I want us to go there. I want to go there. I want to raise our family there in the land of opportunity and not here in this environment. So my mother, seeing that motivated her, inspired her. My mother was a very loving woman too. When she came to the United States, they called her Cariño, which was love. That was her nickname. That's how loving and caring and giving she was. So I see a lot of those traits in her, in me now. I try to be loving and caring and everything, and I try to be helpful and everything just like she was. And I'll go into that a little more in my story. So then what happened was, as her working in these hotels, one of the people that were there gave her the idea that in Puerto Rico, they had jobs for nannies that took care of rich people's kids. So they told her if she could somehow get herself to Puerto Rico, she would have a real good job there, and it would be a good in to go through Puerto Rico to New York City, which is her ultimate goal. So I'm guessing she must have been telling people she wanted to go to New York City. So her and my aunt end up going and taking a chance and leaving Colombia, getting to Puerto Rico. They took care of rich people's kids in their house, and while she was in their houses, she would network with them. So they told her how to get to New York. The contract was up. She went to Puerto Rico for 2 years. After the contract was up, her and my aunt went to New York City from Puerto Rico, and that's how they ended in the United States. So they come here, and that was in 1964. And in New York City was where she met my father. And her and my father eventually got married, and then the story goes that my father had heard from his friends that Passaic was the place to go to because there was a lot of factories, there was a lot of jobs, and there was a lot of opportunity. So my father took the guy's advice, takes the bus over to Passaic, looks at a factory, and got hired on the spot. He brings my mother over now, and I'm born in Passaic, and the rest is history with that, which I thought was very interesting. One interesting story that I'll share about my mother was when I was 16, I never forget, I was dying to work. I don't know why, because my mother gave me everything. I never needed it for nothing, but I was dying to work. I think it was just for me to know that I worked. So there was a company in Passaic called CETA, and they hired young kids before you were 18 to work. That was the only place that did that. So I went and applied. So when I found that out, I went and applied and got a job with CETA. And I came home that day and I was so excited. I was like, Mom, guess what? I got a job. And she looked at me, she was like, what? She's like, what do you mean you got a job? I'm like, I got a job with CETA. She goes, my son, what are you doing with a job? You're gonna work for the rest of your life. She was not happy with me getting that job. And I thought I was doing such a big thing, and she still let me work, but she was not happy about it because she knew that I was gonna be working later, and she knew that she was giving me, she didn't want me focusing on work. She wanted me to focus on education because that was her thing. So, the way she raised me, my mom, growing up, my mom was a what you call a free-spirited style of parent, right? Everybody else on my block, their parents were very discipline-orientated and very stringent and very, like, strict. And my mom was completely opposite. My mom was free. I mean, I had freedom. She never hit me or punished me, or she let me, you know, she let me be out. She gave me independence. I mean, it was kind of weird to be little and have all that power. So it was strange, but it was her style. She, in her mind, I think she knew that one day I wouldn't have her, and she wanted me to be ready. So she was already preparing me because she knew she was a sick person. So I think she wasn't sure whether she would be around or not. But she would always tell me, you know, you can be anything. And she would give me those little hints and throw those in my life. And she would give me a lot of freedom, like I said. But the one thing that my mother did was she gave me some really strong morals. And those morals are what made me today. And I had no idea that the way she was doing, she did them in such a way that you didn't even realize you were being parented. So I know the main things that stick out to me was that she definitely put God in my heart from early on. We went to church every Sunday. In the house, we prayed every night. She read the Bible. So I saw that. I was introduced to that very early, and that was a part of our life. She also taught me she drilled into me one key thing. She said, I want you to make sure you marry before children. And to me, that was very important. And growing up, I saw a lot of people that were just having children outside of marriage, and that never sat well with me. And that came from her. Another huge thing that she gave to me was she forced me to speak Spanish at home. And that is a huge deal for me now, because a lot of my friends my age can't even speak Spanish today who come from Spanish households because they weren't forced to. They were allowed to talk English, which is funny because their parents were strict on certain things, but when it came to that, they were lenient. And my mother was lenient on most things, but when it came to that, she was strict. And that, to me, you know, shows where her thing was. Another big thing she gave me was my attitude. She was like, your attitude always has to be good and upbeat. Always, at all times. Always have a good attitude about everything. And to this day, I still incorporate that. The other one that she did was be very appreciative of everything and everybody that's in your life. Be super appreciative. And to this day, I still inhibit that. She made me a go-getter, but my mother was a go-getter. And she made me be that. I think that was just in my DNA. I'm not so sure if that was something that she had to instill in me or that was in me and she just woke up in me. And she always told me to never, ever take no for an answer. Never accept no. If somebody tells you no, you find a way to get a yes. And that still sticks with me today. My mother was a very good entrepreneur. And at the time, growing up, you don't really realize it, but when you're seeing other people's parents and you're seeing what my mom was able to do, you know, it started to make sense. My mom started off in factories like a lot of other immigrants. She eventually went on to be a nurse's aide, but then, you know, with her illness, she wasn't able to work as much, and she also, being an entrepreneur, she saved her money as a single woman, immigrant woman, that barely knew English. She was able to open up a nightclub in Passaic. And I thought that was amazing, because her by herself to run a club and be a businesswoman, and that's her dream, and she went and did it. So growing up, needless to say, my birthday party was the best because we had our own club. So I would have my birthday party in this club, and you know, it was pretty amazing. But my mother was so entrepreneurial that, excuse me, I remember in my living room, right, we would always have all these people in my living room dancing salsa and people hanging out and everything. And my mother always had a method to her madness. So what my mother would do is, my mother was a strong advocate for other immigrants. So what my mother would do is, my mother would invite people to our house, and then she would play matchmaker and marry people. So sometimes what she would do is she would marry an American person with a Colombian immigrant. And it would be for their papers and everything, but they would fall in love and they would stay married, even though she was trying to help them out. So in my living room, my mother was a matchmaker and matched people for money. So, you know, it's just amazing the kind of heart and the kind of mind that she had. Another thing that she did was she worked for political campaigns. And it always baffled my mind. We would be going to stores. She would drag me along to all these stores. She would go inside, talk to the person, this and this and that. And on the way out, she would, oh, by the way, can I put my sign in your window? And she would put the candidate's sign in their window. All the businesses on Monroe Street and everything, we would go into every business. And one time I was like, Mom, why we gotta go into all these businesses or whatever? She was like, my son, number one, we're getting paid, but number two, we want this candidate to win because he's gonna help our immigrants. And I would be like, wow, at the time, I'm not even knowing what's going on. But she was such an entrepreneur. She did anything to earn money. So now we fast forward to the day, February 8th, 1986. That day changed my life forever. It was a winter stormy day. It had just stormed, and I was playing for the basketball team of my middle school, and we had a game that day. And my mother had come home from running errands, and she was a little bit when you have asthma, you have trouble breathing. You know, you're wheezing and stuff. So she come home and she's wheezing. And we go up, I lived on the 3rd floor, so we had to go up 3 flights of stairs. She goes up there, she takes the inhaler machine. And I'm like, Mom, I gotta go to a basketball game. So she's like, okay, let me just do this, and then I'll take you, and we'll go. So she does her thing, we walk downstairs, she takes me in the car, and on the way to the basketball game, she was really having trouble breathing. And I said to her, Mom, seriously, you seem a little bit bad. I said, the school that I went to was Lincoln Middle School, number 4 school. And right down the hill from there is General Hospital. So I said, Mom, go down the hill and go to the hospital. When I get out of the game, I'll go to the hospital to meet you or whatever. So she's like, okay. Sure enough, I get out of the car and she goes down Broadway towards our house, not towards General Hospital. So I'm like, oh, come on. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go inside, and come to find out the game is canceled because of snow. So we're like, oh, game is canceled. Like, all right, Dad, now I gotta walk all the way home. So I walk all the way home, and when I get home, I'm walking through our infamous playground, and one of my friends runs up to me hysterically, and he's like, June, your mother is passed out upstairs, and it don't look good. I was like, what? So I run up there, I run all the way upstairs to the top flight, and when I got there, the ambulance had just got there. And they pushed me out the way and get to her in the seat that they're giving her, you know, CPR. And they tried, and I'm not responsive. And I stood there, and I watched her, and they declare her dead on arrival. And I was like, wow. That was pretty interesting. I was like, wow. That was my world. So I go and I lock myself up in my bathroom. And I stay there, locked in the bathroom. And I'm like, wow. I didn't even know what to think, what to say, what to do. I'm 14 years old. My whole world, this shit is rocked. And I stood there for hours. My family's starting to come. And I never forget, like it was yesterday, my cousin's voice. He says, Junior, you gonna stay in the bathroom, locked in the bathroom? Or you gonna come out of you're gonna come out that bathroom and be like your mother would want you to be. And just those words, like your mother would want you to be, those words woke me up. It was like almost like just breaking the spell. And I heard those words like my mother would want me to be, and I know my mother wouldn't want me to be locked in, sad inside of a bathroom. So I come out. Right after he said that, I just come out. And I'll tell you, to this day, I've never looked back after that, those words. It was so amazing. Just those words that broke the pattern. So I come out, and I started dealing with the family and this and that. And the very next day, I went to school. And everybody was shocked to see me at school, and I was like, I'd rather be here in normality than be home weeping and thinking. So I went about my business. I went to school, and my whole mentality, my whole attitude was like, you know what? I'm gonna live a life that makes her proud. I'm gonna live a life that she would be happy about. And that would always be my thing. I would never have sorrow or why or if or God, how could you? Or I never questioned any of it. All I knew was that I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that every day, wherever she is in heaven, that she is proud of who I am. And that was my main quest. That was everything. My aftermath of that was everything to do with how I would live now. All my decisions, all my actions, everything she said to me, everything she taught me in that short amount of time, I took it and that's what I lived by. And I started implementing some of the things that she told me, my attitude, my appreciation, being careful that I didn't impregnate somebody before marriage, like all those things. I started implementing them and going to college, getting ready for college and all that stuff afterwards, playing sports and all that stuff. So I started implementing. So then now I fast forward to my life now. And now, today, I can honestly tell you that all those things she taught me, I see them through my whole life. I'm a proud man of God. I've been serving God for over 10 years now, proudly. My family serves God. My wife and children and mother-in-law and sister-in-law have come to Christ through that. And I love serving God and serving others, just like she would have wanted me to, just like she taught me to. And then not only did I go and attend William-Paterson, but I graduated from there with a bachelor's degree. I made my presence felt at that school. I acted in plays. I never acted in my life, and I starred in plays. I did concerts. I went homecoming king. I did things at that school that I couldn't even imagine those things. I wasn't even a portion of those things in high school. Not even a portion of what I grew into as a man on that college campus for those 5 years. And then after that, fast forward after that, and I go and I'm able to marry the love of my life, Jennifer Rodriguez. And I know she wanted me to marry, and I ended up, a few years later, after our marriage, 2 years later, we have our first son, Zaven, who's here. Hi, Zaven. Everybody say hi to Zaven. So he comes 2 years after that. So I was able to fulfill that for her, get married, and have my children. I also, in that time period, I also became a real estate broker. I became a businessman. And with that, the Spanish that she made me learn came back, because now in my business, I use a lot of my Spanish language, that if I didn't learn that, if she didn't force me to learn that, I wouldn't have been able to have the Spanish to speak to my clients. So as you can see, all those things in my life now from her teaching me came out. I'd like to recap now in closing. And as you can see, my mother was an extraordinary woman that was a go-getter and a visionary that was able to come from nothing and come here and make a life, and then help me get a life, which allows them, my future, my kids, to get a life after me. She was an amazing mother. Her style To recap, her style of mothering was amazing. Her free spirited, it worked. You know, she didn't have to be like all the other parents, and her style worked. So I appreciate that. The hardships that she went through, the hardships that I went through with losing her, made me stronger, made me better. So hardships are needed in life, I believe. And then right now, the way I look at my life is a display of all her hard work and all her dreams and everything. Immigrant parents dream of their children will find a new home in their place, and they willingly suffer hardships in service for that dream. As keynote speaker today, I thank you all for your undivided attention, and also the Cultural Center Board for selecting me to tell my story. In particular, I'd like to thank Pastor Willie for his vision of this cultural center. Like he said in his introduction of me, this cultural center has a special place in my heart because Pastor Willie and I was privileged enough to be in the baby stages of this organization, where me and Pastor Willie sat down and said what this would be, and we talked about putting a board together and what it would take, and getting teachers and getting clothing and getting food and getting teachers and getting students, and we talked about all this. And now you fast forward to now, and not only is it up and running, but look what we have here. This is something that's here to stay, and I'm just so grateful and honored that I was there at those beginning stages of this whole thing, and to now be chosen to come here and speak, and to see this grow, and to see people's lives change, and to see the effect that it's happening. It's amazing, and to see us going into Perth Amboy, to see other people not copying, but duplicating what we're doing is just unbelievable to me. I speak for all children of immigrant parents when I say we are extremely grateful. We are honored that you were willing to take such a chance to get out of your comfort zone and go into another country, not knowing anything, the language, the culture, nothing. I mean, I look at us today, and we're not built like that anymore. I mean, we're uncomfortable. We got to move to another town. And here they are moving countries for us. And that, to me, is unbelievable. Those people are just unreal. People are still doing it to today. And I leave you with this that I came up with, and God put this in my heart, and I want you to take this to heart. They had to mastermind a plan to make it here. And then after they got here, they had to mastermind a plan to make it here. Thank you.